when we've got great people around us and we're proactively investing in ourselves, then less things go wrong. And when they do go wrong, we bounce back far more effectively.
Magnificence is the boundless expanse of being, a liberation from limitation. It is the embodiment of authenticity, where you shed the shackles of self-doubt, shame, and imposter syndrome. Here, worthiness flourishes like a vibrant garden where you have the power to determine your actions, destinations, and your closest relationships. In the realm of magnificence, creative individuality takes center stage. Your greatness is acknowledged, celebrated, and nurtured. Gone are the days of mindless conformity or fitting in just to keep the peace. This show and your host, Patricia Lindner, are here to guide you as you align with your authentic design, leading the way to a life of purpose and fulfillment. Magnificence is not some unreachable peak or distant dream. It's inside you, waiting to shine brighter than you ever thought possible. Welcome to your magnificence.
Hello and welcome to another amazing episode of Magnificence, the one and only empowerment podcast that strikes a match and shines the light on my magnificent guests. And today I have with me the amazing Mike Pagan. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited, intrigued to know where we're going to go today.
Yeah, and I just was so drawn into your background and my background and talking about magnificence and shining the light. And I was like, wow, that is so on spot. So before we dive into your light and your magnificence and all the good stuff, I would love to introduce you briefly to the audience, and then we go from there. Mike Pagan is the mental wealth strategist, a very interesting name I want to dive into just after the introduction, a mental wealth strategist. He's combating isolation in the workplace with the pursuit of positive mental wealth. He's an executive coach, a speaker, and a mastermind facilitator, enabling more fun personally and professionally for his clients. Mike, again, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I did. That sums it up quite well. Somebody very clever must have written it.
I bet. So I stressed the term mental wealth strategist. So this is really unusual, Mike, because oftentimes or most of the time in like mainstream conversations, I hear mental health. Mm-hmm. And this is, for me, it is like, oh, what did he talk about? It's mental wealth. How did you come up with this term and what does it embody? What is it all about?
In simplicity, mental wealth is the sort of the overriding umbrella. This is sort of like the holistic approach to how we look after ourselves, how we work. So mental health is, depending on who you're talking to, is more often than not referred to in a negative light. Yeah, people have mental health problems. Mm-hmm. They have challenges. They have issues, and it comes across in that negative focus. And then when you start talking about wealth, well, wealth is what we do to do with finance, and it's how we look after ourselves. Can we afford our clothes, our food, our houses, whatever it is we happen to be in? And so when I put the two areas together, sort of mental wealth, then suddenly we're now investing in our mental health. We're investing in ourselves now, and so it's more than just well-being. It's more than just support networks. It's the combination of all of these areas. Because when we're working in isolation, which happens a lot of the time, isolation kills creativity, prevents decision-making, and then can turn into this negative spiral vortex that takes us down the routes of depression, anxiety, and potentially suicides. So when we're investing and we're dealing with areas around isolation and other problems that go with that, by building a support network, I call a mental wealth team, that is fit for purpose for the way forward, then that evolves, and it is constantly evolving. And that's where the sort of the synchronicity, that the whole work, when we've got great people around us and we're proactively investing in ourselves, then less things go wrong. And when they do go wrong, we bounce back far more effectively, because it's not a panacea of easy life. That doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. Stuff will go wrong and will continue to. Health will happen, everything else. But we have to have good people around us to help us along that way.
And does this apply to, so I just had so many ideas going off in my head. So does this apply to, for example, let's talk about me. I'm a small business owner, not being part of a company. Does your approach of mental wealth apply for me as well? Or is it just this support network inside of a company where you have those mental wealth teams around you?
If we start at the core issue here, isolation is not selective over whether you are a solopreneur or you are the chief executive of a multi-billion-dollar business with thousands of employees around the world. When you're at the top of your if we're talking work at the moment, when you're at the top of your business, be that individual or thousands, but the issue is, who do we turn to get support? If you're in a big company, you can't tell the shareholders you don't know the answers. You can't tell the stakeholders you don't know the answers. You can't tell your co-directors you're not sure what to do next. Your partner will always say, "Oh, just go for it," because you always land on your feet. Your friends at the school gate, at the sports or whatever it is you do, "Oh yeah, Mike, yeah, you always do all right." And you're never going to tell an employee or people that work for you or a client that you don't know what to do next. So suddenly, unintentionally, we create this whole isolation bubble, and we need to empower other people to be our support. We need to bring those people along with it, and they have to be fit for purpose as well. One of the things I do with a lot of people, and I do this when I'm speaking on stage or in one-to-one work, is get them to totally subjectively, not scientifically, subjectively score their network, the people around them. And it's fascinating because you get people just sort of writing down names. I mean, my wife includes the dentist on that, because Garrett, she's not having an affair with him, so she says. But it's that whole thing. Just before we go on holiday or just before we come back from holiday, she has a tooth problem. It's guaranteed. So the dentist is on her speed dial. Not quite, but it feels like it. But it's so when you create this list of all the people around us who are in our network, and then we score them. And again, this is totally subjective. Gut feel. We just give them a score of 1 to 10. 10 being a high score, 1 being a low score. No more science behind it than that. And then translate those numbers. And this is what listeners, I would challenge you to do this. Then it's, what do those numbers mean? If somebody scores a 1, 2, or 3, they know you. You know them. There's no relationship. You just know each other. You could just be a friend on social media or whatever it is. It's like that older Facebook meme where you've got the funeral parlor and you've got the and they're turning around. We were expecting so many more people because they've got thousands of friends on Facebook. Yeah. This is the real stuff. If they score a 4 or a 5, you know them because of a reason. So it could be the school gate, could be the sport you play. You don't turn up for your sport for 2 months because you broke your leg. And they turn, "Oh, where have you been, Mike?" "I broke my leg." They don't reach out. But you get on fine with them. It's all sociable, but you're not close. Then you've got your 6s and 7s. Now, 6s and 7s is the largest group because these are the people some of them you've known since very small childhood, all the way through. You have all sorts of conversations with them about anything and everything. However, what you don't do is you're never open, honest, and vulnerable with them. They don't know that inner side where you can talk finance, you can talk health, you can talk spiritual, you can talk everything else that's going on. They don't know that. You don't trust them enough, or you don't feel comfortable enough. But I mean, you've known them for 25 years in some cases. I mean, my best mate was my best man, but I cannot talk anything financial with him because he's got this big chip on his shoulder about numbers. So I just can't go there.
Yeah.
And there's other people, and it's not. It doesn't have to be in balance. So I could score somebody a 4 out of 10, but they have me as an 11 or a 12 out of 10 because I'm that important to them. And it's that network. So these people that are in your mental wealth team are the ones that scores 8, 9s, and 10s. And they're the ones you can be open, honest, vulnerable, and mentally naked with. So you can share all sorts with them, and they will call you out and say, Patricia, that's a ridiculous idea. You can't do it. Yeah. And because you've given them permission to do that. The scary reality is the number of people who, when they do this for the first time, turn around and find out, I've got nobody in my mental wealth team. I've scored 0 there. I've got lots of 6s and 7s, but nobody. And that's because we spend our whole lives giving, solving, fixing, and helping, not looking after number 1. And that's a baseline. That's not a problem. That's just a reality of where we are today. At the point of doing that exercise the first time, okay, you scored 0. You scored 8 because you got one person who scored an 8. That's okay. Now we've got to build the strategies, hence Mental Wealth Strategist is my title, to build that support network as we go forward so that people have got great people around them that are fit for purpose for the way forward. Because just because they were great 2 years ago doesn't mean they're great today.
Yeah, I like that. And as you spoke about those numbers, and you said, the 6s, they could be someone that you have been knowing for a very long time. And it just made me think of some schoolmates that I meet once a year, and we eat together around about Christmas, and we share about our year. And at the same time, I need to say that really honestly, whenever I share, and I know that lots of people, these are like 12 people, it looks as if we were sharing openly with all the vulnerability, but there is always this holding back part that doesn't allow to be honest, like into the core of your being. There is always this, I don't go into this place. I can't share that with them, even though I have been knowing them for over 30 years. So that is like, wow, yes, that's so true. And then
there's movies where you get people meeting up at group gatherings like you just described, and they hire a car that's really smart and really posh so that they can turn up at that reunion and feel worthy. Sorry, that's just reinforcing the problem and the challenges.
Right. Yeah. I am one of the lucky ones because just last week or the week before last week, I had on my cell phone 5 people in a row that I texted to, and I was in awe because they are the 5 people that I really trust fully, and they trust me fully. And I was like, wow, they are in a row, and I would love to have them really around me, but they are spread all over the world. But they would be there whenever I need them online, or maybe they would even come over. I can share everything that I want to, and they would not laugh about what I say. They would be very honest with all the things that I say.
Potentially quite rude.
Yes, exactly.
Nobody else talks to me like that. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I love that. And this is such a great bridge into looking at your chart, because it is as if you created something so valuable around those mental wealth teams that is building those little communities. They don't need to be really big. I don't know. Is it like 5 people or 3 people?
The mental wealth team will get to between 8 and 15 maximum.
Okay.
And there's one element in there which I'll explain in a moment that has multiple people, which is why that number gets elevated. But it's my late mother-in-law always said, if you can count your best friends on more than one hand, you're kidding yourself.
Okay.
And I thought that's an interesting way of looking at it, because then suddenly you get it's that argument about I've read something earlier today about if love is conditional, that's not love.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Which is quite scary, because
It's scary.
Conditional, then you have to do this. In other words, for me to do that. Whereas true love is unconditional.
Unconditional.
So conditional love is not love. Right. That's obsession. That's control. That's whatever else it happens to be.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, or it's understanding those differences.
Yeah, and I think that is so. I think many people are, or almost everyone is looking for this unconditional love when you just break it down. But it is rare. It is rare. Just in families, when you look at parents and children, if you bring a good grade, then I support you. If you don't, then I don't talk with you for days. I do the silent treatment. So just as an example, unconditional love, I think that is the big goal that everyone is wanting to reach. And so I love your idea of building those mental wealth teams to not suffer from mental poverty. That is what came to my mind.
Not suffer from mental poverty. Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
Nice language. I'll make a note of that one.
Do that, please. So here we have your human design chart, manifesting generator Mike Pagan. That is someone who is a hybrid version between a manifestor and a generator. And the generator word, I just explained to you because I know you have not had the chance to look into your chart before our conversation. And maybe someone out there who is watching would love to learn more about human design and the types. And there is the manifesting generator, 1 out of 5 types. A mix between the manifest and the generator. The generator type, as the word says, is someone who has a lot of power, generating power by whatever they do, by doing the work they love and being someone that can do the work, becoming masterful at what they do. The manifestor type is someone who can really bring or manifest things, someone who is initiating things, who is creating realities. And when you bring them together, that's a person who is multitasking, multi-potentialite, someone who is really fast in developing ideas, looking for the shortcuts, being busy with many things, working on many projects, reading many books at a time, because there is so much energy and the need to create and to find a faster way. So that is the manifesting generator or time bender. That is another expression for the manifesting generator, just described briefly. I don't know if this speaks to you. I just wanted to share with you your general type, Mike.
No, thank you. No, I'm intrigued to learn more, because it's a very different model that I'm not experienced with. So understanding how it sits and what the translation is, and that's all taken from my birth, my location, my geography, and so on. Not my personality traits, my behavioral traits, or my desires. This is purely taken off that other side of the equation, which is very, very different to what I'm used to.
Yeah, and I need to add at that point that I was very full of doubt and hesitant to work with those kinds of systems, tools, assessments, because I never, ever want to put anyone into a box. I love using those insights to help people really get to their fullest potential And it is really intriguing to dive into the depth of what this can offer to you or someone who is interested in it. It never ever. So the way I do it, it does not box someone in. It is really opening you up to more, just giving you a different way of looking at your energetic blueprint. And we could even go deeper into the gene expressions, the energetic gene expressions, but that would go too far in our short conversation here. And just looking at, hey, what is the best strategy to apply when I make decisions? What is the best way to show up? Am I a person that is full of energy and that invites people into their space and is fully okay? Or am I someone who needs to withdraw and replenish? So that is not you. So there is a projector type needs to just withdraw and recharge the batteries because otherwise they would burn out. Manifesting generators have
That's
a
an interesting
lot.
insight because I'm married to an out and out extrovert, and then she'll get to a point where she just falls off a cliff and has to go and hide in a dark room.
Maybe she's a projector. We should check that out.
Potentially, but by contrast, for me, I become the extrovert. I become the noise, but I then retreat into the middle ground. I'm not a natural introvert, but I do like peace and quiet. And it's that reflection space, and I'll turn it on and then turn it off again. So what you're seeing, the energy, the volume today is because I'm turning it on because we're on a podcast. We're entertaining, we're challenging, we're having conversations and so on. But this is not how I sit the whole time in front of my office.
Yeah, sure. And I'm a manifesting generator as well, and I 100% agree. I can be the total extrovert, but I need the me time. I need the peace and quiet, just to follow my ideas, my thoughts, be in nature. And I bet that's the same for you.
Well, this links beautifully to the first of my 4 areas is self-care, which and that sits, and self-care for me is helping people to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
Joking aside, I was always number 6 in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Why number 6? Well, because wife, 3 children, and a dog. And we're actually breeders for the guide dogs, or have been historically. So the Christmas before last, I was number 14 because there were 8 little puppies as well. Very cute, very sweet. But this, as I say, that's joking aside. I was always focused on everybody else first. And that's there's everything talked about fill up your cup first, whether you're following a religion or you're following other formats. If number 1 is not fit for purpose, I cannot fix or help other people that are going through challenging times. Yeah. So I have to look after number 1. And looking after number 1, from when we were children, it was seen as being selfish. Mm-hmm. You've got to share your toys with other children. You've got to don't do that. That's selfish. I put a post up nowadays on a Sunday called Soulfish Sundays, and it's just a random post about being slightly selfish, looking after the soul on a Sunday, and it's just that we all do different things. I do a little bit of open water swimming, just to say the least. And that's part of it. But I'm not somebody in the self-care world who does meditation and mindfulness, mm-hmm. according to the traditional route that people talk about. Yeah. But for years, I've worked in flow. For years, but I've done it as active flow. So if I'm swimming, and this weekend, recently, I've just done one of the biggest lakes in England, from end to end. And it was very, very cold. It was a 4.25 hour swim. But if you can imagine stroke after stroke, A, that's monotonous. B, it's quite boring. But when you just get into that flow state, whilst doing an activity, walking, going up, climbing up, gardening, whatever it is that enables somebody to get into flow, that's active mindfulness. And at the end of that situation, whatever it is, I have never gotten out of the water feeling worse than I did before I got in. Sometimes a bit cold, maybe a little bit sick because I've drunk something or whatever else. but just my mind and my head has always felt better. And that's part of those self-care. So whether it be activity, fitness, nutrition, meditation, mindfulness, sanctuary, where do we go to reboot, to switch off? Where that little hideaway? It can be in the house, or better still, it's the coffee shop in the village or the town down the road. And I'm not being rude about mothers with young children, with babies, but the coffee shop, if that's your sanctuary, make sure it's got an upstairs, because there are less pushchairs go up there. And if you want peace and quiet, it works. Yeah. But that, and it's that environment where, what do we need to do to go and reboot? I have a place where my parents' ashes are scattered in the sand dunes at a location in the south of England. And I will go down there once or twice a year, and I will just sit on the beach and watch, because something tells me they're around. Now, however you dress it up, that's sad, that's positive, that's whatever. But it feels good. It's a bit of a sanctuary. So part of the self-care, we have to have that.
I love that. And so I would say, I know that being selfish is the only chance we have, not meaning the bad selfish, but we are meant to live a happy life. That is what I believe, what I know. And really figuring out what it is that brings you into this flow state. It is different for everyone. And so we are really close with what we do with people, Mike, because when I look at their chart, this gives me the opportunity to look into what recharges their batteries, what makes them put in a flow state, because sometimes people know what they don't want, but they don't know what they do want. And so maybe they get a little hand with that. And so I like that you said you don't need to sit down and meditate if this is not what puts you into the flow state, because maybe swimming is exactly what it is. Or just doing something that is in alignment with who you are.
Yes, the alignment. Sitting cross-legged. I'm an ex-rugby player. I can't do that.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate sitting cross-legged, because I need to focus on the cross legs because they hurt. And so I can't just let go of my thoughts, because my thoughts are with my legs. Just to make a little fun out of it. So you need to really find out what makes you happy, what puts you into the flow state, what makes you mentally healthy and wealthy, speaking in your language. And the self-care team, these are people who become part of your mental wealth team. Just as having a coach is one of those fundamental areas. Having professional network. I'm not a person who loves doing detail. So if there's a 47-page document to be read and proved. You're a manifesting generator.
That's not my world.
No.
Exactly. But then the fourth area in here is the peer support group, the mastermind group. Mm-hmm. And that is where we proactively recruit a team of people that it's all done in confidentiality. Mm-hmm. So we can build that network, and in that environment, you challenge each other. Each person has a time in the hot seat, and we ask brutal, direct, honest questions. And then at the end of it, there's this accountability. Yeah. As a result of this session where you've been grilling me, I'm going to do these 2 or 3 things before we next meet. And that's where the power comes in, because otherwise it's just a friendship circle. And the friendship circle is nice. They're great to have, and we enjoy them. But when it comes to performance, productivity, improvement, self-improvement, we need other people who are going to stretch us. Yeah. And that's where the mastermind group comes in. And there's so much written about masterminding, but for me, it's the most powerful tool, because you can get, I was saying before, in your mental wealth team, 8 to 15 people. If you've got a proactive mastermind team, you've got 6 people there straight away. So, and once that group evolves, it goes from slightly awkward to begin with as you're getting to know each other and we're just giving each other truths, to actually they become some of your best friends. And there's a story of a friend of mine who ran a mastermind group in the UK, and one of the members had a terminal cancer diagnosis, and he attended the mastermind group before going home to his family. because he wanted to get all the answers, all the questions in place inside his head, so that when he went home to the family, which was clearly going to be a very emotional meeting, he was ready and prepared. And suddenly that's, well, hold on a second, we were talking about business and performance and personal. No, it becomes more. And this is why mental wealth is that umbrella that covers personal performance, personal sanity, looking after number one, but also the business, because if we've got the right people around us, we do more.
That's why you said personally and professionally. So it is a holistic approach. It includes all layers and all levels and all parts of life.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I've had clients I've coached with, and I've been brought in under the business executive coaching route, and they've been high brow professional service individuals, and they want to talk business. They want to do the pointy finger and the frowny forehead, and this is serious. Within second or third session, the tears are flowing, and the reality is coming out. And I say, okay, well, and they say, why am I doing this? I said, because if we don't get over this, we can't get to the next.
Right.
You have to. It is all encompassing.
Right. I 100% agree, and I have the same experience. Whenever it starts professionally, there is a personal element that shows up in session 3, 4, 5, something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I would love to go back to your chart, because I only started sharing about you being a manifesting generator, and now I wanted to go down a different road. But now, as you talked about direct, maybe vulnerable questions, I had a thought just showing up in my head, and it's this profile part. The profile part says 3, 6, which are I Ching lines or I Ching lines, and we don't need to know more about that, but it says martyr, which is the 3, and it says role model, which is the 6. And as I looked at your chart, I thought, so I know you, but honestly, I know you as someone that I have a coffee chat with. So I would love to learn more about how come that you came up with this approach, this idea of mental wealth. Is there a component? And you could say that's none of your interest and none of your business, but this profile shows me, and I just tell you briefly, that is someone who went into experiences himself, who maybe found himself isolated and was looking for a solution, because the martyr does not read about things. The martyr goes in and experiences so that he makes the experience on his own and can pass this on to others. The role model, and this is like a double thing, is someone who in the first, let's say 25 to 28 years of your life, was someone who went fully in, experiencing a lot of stuff, maybe even edgy things, maybe difficult, distracting, dangerous things, but also good things. So someone who was fully in. And then over the course of time, after this first period, withdrew to really integrate the experiences.
From the martyr side of things, there's some ugly in the background when I was young, so I can that's a reality, and then as that goes forward, the work I was doing that sort of became the evolution of mental wealth was with professional and elite sportsmen and women transitioning to their life after sport. So the guillotine moment comes down. Yesterday they had 35 people keeping on the pitch, in the pool, on the track. And now all of those are not fit for purpose for the way forward. So suddenly they had a forced isolation, forced transition. Now they got old, loss of form, or just not good enough, whatever it was. And so the work I was doing there really opened my eyes to that transition piece. And then that went a step further, that transition piece happens repeatedly through our lives. Because you're transitioning from school to college, from college to apprenticeships, to universities, to jobs, to first property, to first homeowner, to partners, to children. We transition constantly.
Yeah.
And that support network around us evolves along that time.
Right.
Because just because they were great at the age of 18 doesn't mean they're going to be great at the age of 88. Chances of you both being alive might be slim as well, but it's that journey. And then from the role model side of things that you're describing there, when I first met my then girlfriend but wife, I had a specific challenge. I wanted to go and live and work overseas for a period of time, and I was applying to get jobs and so on. Because the language was, I don't want to wake up at the age of 50 saying what if or if only. Yep. So when we moved to Australia at the age of 29, and had 3 years over there, took dual citizenship, had our second child was born out there. We have 3, all have lived in Australia at different points. My youngest is at university over there nowadays. He's visiting the UK as this recording goes out. But it's just that, as you say, the role model. Well, that's the point. You're creating this stuff. You're creating opportunities. And for the last 20 years, I've been in a very stable situation at bringing up a young family and everything else. Now I'm in transition again because the main house is downsizing. We're building our world to move forward as a nomadic working world. So we will spend more time in different parts of the globe because we can. And yeah, it means unsociable Zoom and Teams times. Yeah, but I'll go to the beach, or I'll go to the ski slope, or I'll go diving, or I'll do something the following day as a result. Okay, life's there for living. And it's building that team around us that will enable that to happen. So there's certain elements, I think, just describing your 3 and 6 you had there. Categorically, there's bits where I am definitely reflecting, deflecting, and responding to, and then sharing and building off that.
I like it. So it's not something that you got from books or teachings. It is an expression of what you experienced.
University of Life.
Yeah. So that is
University of Life. That is a classic example for you. My middle daughter was diagnosed with dyslexia when she went to university, severe dyslexia. And it was her, and the language that she was given was, your intelligence has hidden your dyslexia, which is why you've got to where you are and it was missed. And as guilty parents, obviously you're thinking, oh, how did I miss that? I was then doing a lot of reading around her situation and seeing that I do that. And I scored worse than she did when I had my test only a year ago. So at the age of 50 plus, you suddenly work out all these coping mechanisms. Well, no, it's not coping. It's just how I deal with it. I'm not a victim. I'm not it's not a disability to me. It's just who I am and how I work. And it's things like that where you're always learning about yourself. You're discovering different areas. I've written 4 books and things like that. How can you do that? Well, because you build the team around you. My wife is a grammar queen, and so she'll turn around and say BS, repetition, nonsense, red penning. And I think, okay, well that works because and nowadays you've got AI that will help you doing things like that, but it's still got to be you. And this is the journey, and we see these areas. It's very powerful.
Yeah, and this is what you can see in the chart in just those they are more the general parts. So what you can read up here, I nevertheless would love to dive into one of those spots. So the first thing that I already told you before we pushed the record button, your body graph, that's the body graph, and it expresses certain centers, energetic centers in your body, so related to the position. So that's the head space, and that's the root the self center, which is located around about your heart, the throat center, the brown square. And so they are representing different types of themes, of topics, and yours are mainly defined. So just last episode, I had someone with fully open centers, which is a reflector type. And you are almost someone who is fully defined centers. So what that means is that you derive the energy and everything and the knowledge from within. So it runs from within, and the only place, energetically speaking, that you tune in and tap into your surroundings is the root. And this is a pressure center. I wanted to share that with you because you're pretty stable in what runs in your chart. That's like an energetic circuitry that no one can really influence, because that is who you are, and there is lots of information. And I would love to tell you one or two pieces of information right after speaking about the open root, because it is fully open. And openness in general means that you are able to tune into your surroundings. It's like an energetic antennas, which is nice and beautiful. And there is no good or bad in either defined or open. At the same time, openness means being vulnerable, because people can manipulate you, influence you, put pressure on you. And this is a pressure center. And I wonder if this lands with you, the open.
That's why I have built the mental wealth team, because I need the people around me that will call me out on my stupid ideas or decisions, because they know something different. I did a whole lot of property investing sort of in the noughties, and some of it went very well, some of it went horrifically wrong. But the ones that went wrong were because I didn't have the right people asking better questions. I thought they were better than they were, and it bit me. And so things like that. So when you're describing there, yes, it's definitely, that is a clear vulnerability, but it can be managed by building this support network around me that will provide the answers that I naturally can't see or would never see.
That's interesting. So that's a very interesting way of looking at it, because really someone with so many defined centers has their own things running in your energetic circuitry and your own ideas, and you think they are amazing. And it is really great to have this team of people to shine the light on what you are developing or what you're asking for. The open root center, the square on the very bottom of your body graph, could put some pressure on you when it comes to someone asking you to fulfill certain tasks in a certain amount of time. That is what an open root center does not really enjoy, because there is this pressure of, I need to check this box, and I need to check this box, and I need to be there on time. Oh, and this is putting so much pressure on me, especially when it comes from outside, maybe from, that could be your wife, just saying something.
It's why I didn't suit working in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Because, why I didn't join the military.
Yeah.
There's a different twist. When I was a teenager, I did consider joining the military because of family backgrounds and other things like that. But the reality was I would not have worked well as a number.
Wow. And this is so great because, Mike, you realized that you went down the road of, I want to be more in alignment with who I am. But there are millions of people out there that don't fit into an environment you just described, but they are there. And just imagine someone with a fully open body graph being vulnerable and open to be manipulated in so many ways. they find themselves burned out without a mental wealth team, without knowing their energetic blueprint, and they feel
working to somebody else's agenda and not finding their own. And it's one of the things I will always say, sort of at the end of one of these interview discussions, is the call to action for people when it comes to sort of their mental wealth. But it's not just about us. Sadly, a couple of years ago, fortunately, he was unsuccessful, but one of my son's friends had a suicide attempt, but survived. The morning after this happened, one of my best friends who lives in the US rang me at 9 o'clock in the morning UK time, and that there is a reason for me telling you the time. And I just said, "Great to hear from you, Bok, but why have you rung?" And he said, "Well, that's a bit of a rude answer to the call," whatever else. I said, "Seriously, I just need to know, why have you picked up the phone and rung me at this time on this day when we haven't spoken for several months or whatever it is? Why are you ringing now?" And we spent 5 minutes going around the houses and we couldn't come up with anything. It was just gut feel. It said, "I need to ring Mike." Because this friend of mine, he's the head of A&E in a hospital in Pennsylvania. So I was able to talk him through everything that this young man had done the night before and get answers as to because he was in a coma at that stage. Yeah. So I was able to go back to my son, who was then able to talk to this young man's twin sister and parents and give feedback as to what the prognosis ideas would be for the next 72 hours. Wow. And it's that whole thing of one of the call to action I always put out there is, if there's somebody you haven't spoken to or your gut feel says I should speak to, don't text them, don't stick a message out on social media, whatever it is. Pick up the phone and ring them. Better still, geographically, if you can, go and see them, because we do not know what is going on in other people's worlds at that time. Yeah. And it is our duty as beautiful humans, human social responsibility is the language I use a lot, to just look out for each other. So whilst building a whole mental wealth team is part of looking after number one, selfishly, but it is our responsibility to look out for others. And we can do that just by making us one call, one visit, whatever it is that works.
I love that. I love that. Such a beautiful, not beautiful, but beautiful example to stress that this is so important.
Because that phone call, he was ringing at 4 o'clock in the morning, US time.
Yeah.
On his way home from a night shift at the hospital or an extended shift. Yeah. So everything was, why now?
So that is just inserting a little spiritual idea. We are all connected, and we are connected. And so there is always a reason why we do things or say things, or why we meet a certain person and attract someone into our lives. One last time, I would love to. So I could go on forever and a day.
We could. And I know we're jumping onto other calls and we're doing other things. So yes.
Yeah.
But final bit. What we got?
There is so much information because you have so much definition in your chart. You can see there are those lines that connect two centers. For example, the 6124. If it might be a bit small, but this is 6124. Okay. Or there is 2034. So all those lines are the 14.2 or the 37.40. So there are so many connecting lines that are called channels, and they are very interesting to talk about because they describe what I don't want to say defines you, but sort of defines you. That is something that are your specialties. And I could point out any of them or all of them, and they would be so descriptive and so on spot to what you do. And I don't know what to talk about because they are all amazing. So I picked this one because I love this line, this channel that goes from your sacral, so the area around your belly button or a bit below the belly button to the throat. And this is connected with this energetic line, and that is 3420. And I picked it because it is the channel of charisma. And now I really, to say that, I want to see you in the full limelight, because when I hear you speak about mental wealth, this is so aligned with what is in the chart. Someone who has this 2034 channel, the channel of charisma, that is the archetypal channel for a manifesting generator, which we both have. And I love this. This is someone, or this is called the channel where thoughts must become deeds. And this only happens, that is someone who is always busy, but that is someone who does what he or she really loves. So when you are in an area, when you are in a job, when you are in a space or with people and do something you really love, you can talk about it on stage, you can talk about it in a community, and you will be so overly charismatic, so in the flow, so enjoying what you do, because that is your energetic channel from your gut feeling to express your deepest ideas, desires, convictions. So all of that, and that shows so beautifully the person you are and the person I just witnessed in this conversation. I just see that you burn for the mental wealth, and I could imagine you standing on this big stage, really having this ripple effect of your charisma jumping onto, like contagiously jumping onto all the people that listen to you. So that is the picture that I have about you, and that is why I picked talking about this channel. And I hope you enjoy this little mental picture of mine.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I've got a big smile on my face. I like that. Sounds like we will have some more conversations after this, but yeah. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for sharing me with your audience.
Yeah, and we are not fully done yet, because I would love to know from you when people would love to learn more about the mental wealth team, mental wealth work, the masterminds, and all the good stuff that you do, or if they would love to book you, because I know that you love speaking on stages. How can they find you? How can they reach out?
Absolutely. The simplest, easiest way for me is my name, mikepagan.com is the website. So you can find me through whatever browser you use, or LinkedIn. But if you do send me a message on LinkedIn, please personalize the message so I know where you've seen us talking, because the random cold conversations that come through, can you just say hello? We all get lots of those. And you don't know who they're from. So please personalize it. But yeah, I'm absolutely love to have more conversations and help where I can.
Yeah, amazing. So I highly recommend reaching out to Mike. And to wrap this beautiful conversation up, is there one thing, one thought, one quote, one idea, one inspiration that you would love to put out into the world, that maybe, because we were talking about timing, that needs to be heard right now by someone watching or listening? Anything you would love to share right now?
For everybody listening here, that hopefully the idea of being selfish is not a negative. Look after number one, because isolation, especially in the hybrid world that we're working in nowadays, is growing. And so it's understanding asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Asking for help is a sign of maturity and understanding that you don't have all the answers. And if people refuse you help when you ask, then they're the wrong person to ask. But there is a caveat. If you ask for help from somebody, then we need to take action on that afterwards. Because when we can then go back to Bob and say, well, the last time I asked you for your help, I went and did this and it didn't work, or it did work. But if you go back to them and say, can you give me more help? But I haven't done anything with what you said the last time, they're unlikely to help you a second time. So asking for help, absolutely go for it.
Yeah. such a beautiful wrapping up of this conversation. You are magnificent. You are, so I love that you say, be number one and
Absolutely, yeah.
Make yourself as number one. Be selfish, because that's the only thing that we can do. That's my total belief, and I know that this is so important. It doesn't work in another way, because only you know what is good for you to really be more aligned with who you are. Thank you so much.
No problem, Patricia. Thank you for your time. Thank you again. Loved it.
It was such a great conversation. Thank you for doing this amazing, magnificent work. And thank you, dear audience, for watching and listening to our conversation. You are magnificent. Put yourself in position number one and really care for yourself. You know what you want and you know what you don't want. Looking forward to another amazing episode of Magnificence, and take care. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us for this empowering episode. To continue this journey of aligning with your true purpose and uncovering your magnificence, schedule an illumination call with Patricia at patricialindner.com. Please share this episode with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the show on YouTube and your favorite podcasting platform. Join us again soon for another episode of Magnificence.